All right, greetings everybody. Heath here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. I just got done with my last one, Usufruct and What Is It? And we are back at it with Heroic Imagination Project. Now, I've spoken on this before. This is the basic platform that I'm using for my Paul Jr. channel. So if you're on El Perro or Heckle-Bus, please feel free to go over and check out Paul Jr. I'm establishing a library of video and work on psychology, which is, of course, a different topic than my legal and lawful topics that are mainly on the El Perro channel. So now that I'm growing beyond the legal and lawful system, I'm working on some psychology and stuff. And so we're going to be doing some videos through Paul Jr. on psychology. And if you're not familiar with Paul, Paul is Paul Laporta Jr. And you can go see him at Proper Instruction Motivates People. He does a great job. He's a young man that's been through a lot in his life. And he's really sat back and taken a look at what's going on in his life and what he really wants out of it. So he's gunning for the value that he sees in himself, and just rolling with the ball as he goes through life, making sure that he's doing everything as much as he can in a righteous manner and stuff like that. So that's what we're going to be looking at on Paul Jr. So if you're not familiar with at Paul Jr., please get over there and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can get the likes that or the videos that we'll be doing there. Right now, I'm currently doing them on El Perro, Heckle-Bus, and at Paul Jr. consecutively to help people get familiar with the channels, but eventually it will be its own separate platform, and I will do separate videos on at Paul Jr. on the psychology bits. So greetings, everybody. Greetings, greetings, greetings. What's going on, and what are your thoughts about psychology, as you may or may not know? How do you see the psychology of person?
A person is a persona. It's something that can be changed very easily. With minimal work, you can go from one to another, much like wearing multiple hats. I go from being a supervisor at work, instructing people what to do, to coming home to being a father. That's two very different personalities that need to be associated to these things, because I don't treat my employees the way I treat my son, and vice versa. Unless my son is being my employee, I need to figure out how to transfer those two personas between the two. And then you also have the wife husband role, so there's another hat that I wear, and if if you're a simp in any of those, you're a simp in all of them. I will say that.
Absolutely. And that's why we touch on that thing about enumeration at birth, because that's the first step in becoming the simp, because you're paying homage to a patronage that is inherently backwards according to the very scriptures that these nations base their laws on. Again, it's the Father that gives us instruction in the heavens that tell us to follow the laws of Mother Nature. So greetings, Morpheus. How you doing tonight?
Oh yeah, doing well, man. Can I be heard?
You are well. You are well.
All right. Yeah, man. Yeah, and everybody seems to be in the same vibration, man, and it is so it's really compelling to feel the energy and the impulse of so many other men and women out there that have an interest in in this, because we have a compelling interest in everything that's going on, and we have all in our own individual capacities been subjugated to these platforms, formats, and individual you know retribution that we're all trying to deal with. Everybody wants to talk about remedy, but the remedy is within us, and it's in the great book of law, you know, which is when we start following man's law and we got away from humanity and the true nature of existence, and so therefore we have leaned towards the church and the pedophilic uh, indoctrination that, you know, leads us and our children and families into a subdued state of mind. You know, it's a subdued state of mind where you can make one comfortable, but another you extract from. And
Yeah.
you know how comfortable do you feel with me being in pain? And that's where the suffrage claim comes in, because you know how people can subjugate themselves to the only time they
Well,
feel the only time
well,
they
before we go any further, let me interrupt you real quick, brother, because we're in synchronicity here. Because I've got up in front of us the Ash conformity experiment, and then we're going to be taking a look at another thing called the Milgram experiment.
okay.
So you're right in line with the disconnecting from emotions when we interact with people because of certain things.
Okay.
And that's the conformity, the willingness to act in person, as Nubs was talking about, through the psychology of personalities. We're willing to act through that personality rather than with our heart in
Yeah,
equity.
that's right. And
So,
so go ahead and look, I'm here, and we all have something to add, and but go ahead with your presentation.
all right, I'm going to put
First
the
thing,
Wyrd Wyzard Fair Use Commentary, 17 USC 107, Limitations on Exclusive Rights, Fair Use. Go ahead, Danielle, or whoever that was.
real quick, I've been working very diligent at being that zero that you have
Awesome.
portrayed on the video. I think that when we wear that hat, it eliminates all the other hats, and you don't even need a hat rack because you're just real.
Right. And what our brother is talking about is the concept of being a zero is that you put something into everything you come into, and you walk away taking nothing away from it, so that you are actually being an added bonus or plus, a prosperity to that which you come into at all moments.
I who
So,
have, I who have nothing.
yes. So let's take a look at this. This here is one of my favorite research topics in relations to psychology, and it comes from the Stanford Prison Project. Very influential in my life when I read about that and learned about psychology in my younger days. And this is Philip Zimbardo. He is the one that was a professor emeritus and the one that, for the most part, funded the Stanford experiment or Stanford Prison Project. And it was supposed to last 2 weeks, but he cut it short in 6 days. Now, there's a link to this video, there's a link to the next video, and there's a link to his site called Heroic Imagination Project. And there's a link to their YouTube channel, which is where this comes from. So let's watch this short video real quick, and then we'll get into it again. Then we've got another video.
Of your visual. Okay, I want to give you a test of your visual acuity, your sensitivity to differences in line lengths. So I'm going to show you a standard, and then I'm going to show you 3 comparison lines. One is going to be bigger, one is going to be shorter, and one is going to be the same size as the standard. Your job is tell me which line, A, B, or C, is the same as the standard.
And feel free to interrupt and have me pause if you come up with anything, guys.
Seems like a simple judgment. You always get it right. But now, before you give
Third
your
one.
answer, there are going to be half dozen to 10 other people like you in the room, and they're going to give their answers first. An amazing thing happens. One after another, they say the line that you see as shorter is the same as the standard. Shorter, 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 shorter. They don't say shorter, they just say B, 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 and so forth. Now it's your turn. You know B is the wrong answer. But what do you say? In this study done by Solomon Asch, a classic study of group conformity, the majority of people gave in.
Solomon Asch. Solomon, A-S-C-H. Solomon Asch. A-S-C-H.
Gave in on most of the critical trials to agree with, to say publicly that they agreed with the majority. So this study is one of the first classic studies on the power of a group. As long as there's 3 or more people who agree among themselves that reality is not the way you see it, in many cases, you give in to see the world in their way.
I think he froze. So while we wait for Wizard to come
I
back,
thought that was me.
Yeah.
Which line did you guys think it was?
It was the third line, the very last one.
We're gonna watch this, and
Welcome back.
And what we're looking at here is the democracy aspect, that even a group of 3 has a democracy where 2 can outvote a third. And because if it's an open voting, the 2 voting in one way first can oftentimes convert what the other was already going to vote, and therefore make it a seemingly more moral vote. And this is,
I can see how that would happen.
Yeah, and this is so skewed in today's democracy that we have to start waking up to this, because it's not a democracy anymore. There are very few people that are saying things, and everybody else is just agreeing because they've been indoctrinated into just agreeing. It's pathetic. And Morpheus, if you can hear us, it tells me your device disconnected. So you would have to go out and come back in. My apologies, brother.
Let's look at that study.
The experiment you'll be taking part in today involves the perception of lengths of lines. As you can see here, I have a number of cards, and on each card there are several lines. Your task is a very simple one. You're to look at the line on the left and determine which of the 3 lines on the right is equal to it in length. All right, we'll proceed in this order. You'll give your answer.
Only one of the people in the group is a real subject, the 5th person with the white t-shirt. The others are confederates of the experimenter and have been told to give wrong answers on some of the trials. The experiment begins uneventfully as subjects give their judgments.
2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 3.
But on the 3rd trial, something happens.
2, 2, 2, 2, 2.
The subject denies the evidence of his own eyes and yields to group influence.
Slaves.
Asch found subjects went along with the group on 37% of the critical trials. But he found through interviews that they went along with the group for different reasons.
1. 1.
They must be right. There are 4 of them and 1 of me.
1.
This subject's yielding is based on a distortion of his judgment. He genuinely believes that the group is correct.
1. 1. 1. 2.
Is this Jack's panel when Paul is up?
Coincidentally, I was thinking the same thing, but we'll skip on that for now. But
I heard it from
the
you.
thing
That's what I was listening to.
is, so the thing is, when we have our own subjective reality and we know it to be true and we believe it and we operate on it, then all of a sudden somebody comes up with a little experiment like this. It shows us that we are very manipulative and can be manipulated very easily. It only starts with small little tests like this, and next thing you know, 18 or 12 18 years later, you graduate from high school and you passed all the tests. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They taught you to remember what they want you to remember.
That's really funny and coincidental. I just had a meeting with my son's school, and these very same questions came up in that same type of meeting. It was
Yep, nah, he froze. There you are. There you are. So yeah, let's get back into this.
No, I was saying I was in an. Go ahead.
Two.
I was going to add in that my former coworker is now a school teacher, and we had a discussion about this, and he flat out explained, at least in the state of Virginia, that no child, no matter, even if they get all zeros, will not fail until the 10th grade, because that's when the legal age is for them to drop out of school.
And I did that shit, and let me tell you something. That's the most. And he should drop out in the motherfucking 9th grade because they're getting that federal funding. They've been getting millions of dollars just off this trust fund alone, and they get millions of dollars. All these motherfucking municipalities get millions of dollars under the grant program, under the registration. See, because it is a trust company that we're dealing with. So therefore, like we like it's a living trust, it's a death trust, it's multiple trusts, right? So you really worth more dead than you are alive. That's why they kill so-called niggas on the side of the road, because it's an insurance policy. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, and the same with retirement homes.
Yeah, your driver's license alone has an $11 million insurance policy, which has interest-bearing accounts connected to it. So when our people transition, so-called transition, they take the death estate, the living estate, they merge both of them together. They create a mutual bond, which everybody gets a dividend check other than the true heirs and beneficiaries of the estate, or the estate owners, which would be the mother and father. But they change the characters in the movie when they say your parents. So you've been paying rent. So when I die, now the rent is due. See, now they send you to the mortuary, where you become a mort main account. So they just took you out of your public policy account to your mort main account, which is the mortuary. Then they give you an obituary, and I bet you don't know the definition of motherfucking obituary. Obituary is an O means old bitch who's weary.
Oh, worn out.
That's fucked
No
up.
longer useful.
That's fucked up. That's really fucked up. That makes a lot of sense, because they kept on restating, well, you as the parent. It was always the parent, and I would say the father, and they would say the parent. So
Yep.
I need to make sure that that's corrected whenever I deal with them, that I always make that correction, that they are very affirmed aware that I am the father and not the parent.
And is that not who they have kept you from? The Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy
Yep.
name, thy kingdom come,
Tell
thy
'em.
will
Tell
be
'em.
done in
Tell 'em.
earth as it is on heaven.
Yeah, yeah. All right, here we're back at it.
Waves. 2.
Because you're gonna find out this is an easy social experiment that you can repeat over and over again, and it doesn't matter if people know about it or not; they're still gonna fall for it. It's that simple.
In this case, the subject knows he is right, but goes along to avoid the discomfort of disagreeing with the group. Here, the
That
distortion
comfort
is at
zone.
the level of his response.
2. 2. 2. 2.
In the previous experiment, the naive subject stood alone against the group. In this variation, Ash gave the naive subject a partner, here seated in the third position, who also gives the correct response.
1. 1. 2. 1. 2.
With a partner, yielding drops to only 5% of the critical trials compared to 37% without a partner. Although subjects
Wow.
report warmth and good feeling toward the partner, they typically deny.
From about 35% down to 5% when you got a partner. Can you trust that partner? Do you even know that partner?
And that's what and it's really parameter. They're using parameters because they're doing a pathological examination throughout your whole existence on who you partner with and who you will part with.
Right, and this is why they call it pathology. It's the
Come
path
on,
you're on.
come on, Keith, let's get it.
It's the path that you're on and the technology that you use, and this is the willingness to accept lies and to lie. The willing ignorance, knowing that you're right, but you're willingly going to ignore that rightness and do that which is wrong because you would be embarrassed if you did.
God damn it. And that is the suffocation of most marriages, most relationships, even with your daughter, even with your son, even with your fucking dog. There's always the threat of separation, and it makes you it gives you it gives them a compelling state interest that there's a divide, because their whole rule and thumb of law is divide and conquer. Because once I can get you to go against your own people, your own trust and estate, then there's no one amongst you that can make a proper claim.
Correct. Absolutely.
Deny that he played a role in their own independence. The partnership variation shows that much of the power of the group came not merely from its numbers, but from the unanimity of its opposition. When that unanimity is punctured, the group's power is greatly reduced. Sometimes we go along with the group because what they say convinces us they are right. This is called informational conformity. But sometimes we conform because we are apprehensive that the group will disapprove if we are deviant. This is called normative conformity. The strength of the normative factor is shown in another variation carried out by Ash. In this variation, the subject is told that because he had arrived late, he would have to write his answers. Subjects in this private response experiment are exposed to the same amount of misleading information as other subjects, but they are immune from any possible criticism by the group.
1. 1. 1.
And this enormously reduces the pressure to conform. Conformity drops by 2/3.
Wow. See, before we had it drop from 35% to 5%. Now it's dropping by 2/3. That's 66%. And this is going to play, I'm going to mention scripture in regards to going to the closet and praying in private. See, when you're able to do things privately, you're able to reach a greater truth, we'll call it. Not the truth necessarily, but at least a greater truth.
Ash's experiment is a classic. It reveals how people will deny what they see and submit to group pressure. It allows us not only to observe conformity, but to study the conditions that increase or reduce its occurrence.
So, oops. So we have a experiment here that shows us how easily we can be duped, but knowing the parameters these kinds of parameters or borders, as they relate to reality of objective and subjective, when we subject ourselves to these kind of conditions, we have to be very, very aware of our private discretion and make sure that we're able to keep that separate from the objective public perception so that we can discern for ourselves and keep discerning for ourselves what is true and correct for us. I don't care what's true and correct for somebody else if it's not interfering with me. It's only when they start interfering that we have to have these discussions and think about the psychology and think about the reality of the subjective and objective views that we're posing against each other. This is why we get into all those battles and start slinging ad hominems. It's so easy to disposition somebody by calling them a name. Stick on this topic and get to the reality of things. It's not about the me as a messenger. It's about the message. It's about the truths.
Absolutely.
And we can't keep living a righteous life or even a prosperous life if we keep letting all these lies exist. Or actually the lies as they are, the fiction can exist, but we must be able to discern that from what is real and true.
That's right, because the fiction lives amongst us. We shouldn't live in the fiction. It's okay to entertain the ducks by feeding them crackers and they go away and quack. But when they become the quackers inside your door, it's when they try to inhabit your land, which is where you dwell. You feed them outside, they want to come in. So you have to be careful who you feed.
Yes, and that's like when you invite somebody into your house, you have to be a host to them. It doesn't matter if you invited a demon or a mischievous little spire or something like that and they're causing trouble in your house. You have to be a host to them. You're the one that invited them. This is what says you're supposed to know their character before you let them in your door. This is why I'm so adamant. I'm not going to have too much to do with you if I see you not coming with the spirit. That's the first thing I look for is the spirituality of another man. I'm not looking for your personality. I'm looking for your spirituality.
That's right. And it's truly known on sight, because it's like you saw that motherfucker running towards you with that gun. You didn't remove yourself from that space. So you became subject to the space where the gun could be pointed. Now, whether you remove yourself in the instance of that invasion, or whether you stand there and be a witness to the transgression, but you could be evaporated in the same instance because you stood there and did nothing.
Yes. You have to be ever aware of your surroundings at all times. And this is one of the things that's wrong with society. And what I said earlier about the pathology, the ology part, it's the technology. The technology is taking us so far away from the realm of reality. And what I want to explain about this heroic imagination project, if you go back to some of the first videos I've done on @Paul Jr., you'll see that that's one of the things I talk about is welcome to our own. Heroic Imagination Project, because that's what this metaverse is. This is where we get to develop our character and be that hero. This is our this is our comic book. This is where we get to put our story out. Why not make it about us the way we want to be? Inflect that positive things about it. Most nobody wants to be a criminal when they're growing up. You go around these schools and you ask the students, what do you want to be when they grow up? They want to be some type of hero, not some villain. Okay? So this is our Heroic Imagination Project, where we get to project through our imagination what our hero is. Go ahead, brother.
No, I was just finna tease, and I was gonna say until they get to the little boy, and he'd be like, "I want to be a policeman."
Yeah, we're a board full of people that know about that one. So yeah, it's
I
one of them, satirical, ironic. Yeah.
See, the
But
school I
that's-
grew up in, we were all saying we want to be criminals. Like there were a lot of evil kids there.
Yeah, I was
Like
gonna say,
it was
That was the right answer.
like I grew up over Southside Minneapolis. We were all criminals. It's just to the degree in which our criminal behavior was caught.
Yeah, but we just allowed somebody else to give the definition of criminal, because criminal means that I want to lock up every bad motherfucker that's out here.
Criminal meant Mama Betty was coming at you with that switch that you had to go pick. That's what criminal was growing up.
Right, and you better come back with the big one, motherfucker, or I'm gonna go.
I got the electric cord once, and it was only once. I learned very, very fucking quickly.
Oh hell no! That motherfucking extension cord shit. That was slavery. Now that was
real quick
type of abuse.
Real quick here, guys, just so you know. Riel says that last post is a sock. If you care, please help me to block it. Now, I'm not going to block it, but I will give you a warning.
Which we speak of.
Well, it says Brielle. So there's somebody else in the chat section. She says that is operating as Brielle with the same moniker and everything. Now, what I want to warn you of is that Brielle originally created that name and profile with that picture. And if you're using it and you cause her any kind of harm or anything on this metaverse, I will be a first-hand witness to it. I suggest you change your sock account to something else obvious. Obvious.
What does that pertain to, my brother?
Because what you're doing now is you're on a .com StreamYard in a commercial venue, and you're placating to copy something that somebody else has already created. I urge you, stop your idiocy. Let's get back on with our show.
Well, you know, whenever good vibrations are running through, you're gonna get transgressions. We are not gonna give that any observance.
Yeah. And that's why I say, you know, I'm going to give you fair warning. This is my platform, and it is on a .com StreamYard, so there can be a civil process. And I assure you, I have record of it. The FCC,
we got your back. You don't need to throw no arrows. You don't even need to throw no arrows, man. Go on with your platform.
Awesome. Thank you, brother.
We'll leave that in the basement overnight. They can sleep with the fishes on that one.
Yeah. This is the Milgram experiment, and this is what we were talking about at the very beginning with putting people in pain and be willing to do so. Now, if you remember my series on Hitler's willing executioners, that's what we're touching on here. People becoming so indoctrinated through the various popularity stereotypes and wanting to be like the rest of the group that they end up just doing their job, and just doing their job is murder. So please pay attention.
That's right.
Could a person be talked into committing heinous acts upon another? And could you be convinced to potentially injure or kill someone else? I'm not talking about self-defense or during war on the battlefield, but someone you have never met before and have had no interaction with previously. How can perfectly normal people commit genocide? Like what we saw in the 1930s and 1940s in Europe, or even in Cambodia in the 1970s, amongst other events. What causes people to be active participants in crimes against humanity? If we take Germany in the 1930s as an example, what caused a large part of a modern country to be willing in crimes against people that have been their neighbours and community members for years? It is a really fascinating thought experiment, as when you think to yourself, I could never do something like this, or even this. But what would it actually take for you to pull a trigger, push a button, or pull a lever? Well, this is where a psychologist set out to see what would be the minimum amount of suggestion for a regular person to administer a potentially deadly electric shock to someone they have never met before. The simple but effective study would be known by the inventor's name, the Milgram experiment. The actual experiment would not result in any physical pain, but extreme stress and inflicted insight to the participants. And this would create controversy with the study. As such, I'm going to rate it here 5 on my ethics scale. This is mainly due to it being a fascinating dive into our hardwired ability to obey an authority figure, even to the point of murder. Welcome.
So it ends up being a halfway mark, 5 on a scale of 1 to 10, a halfway mark for ethics by researchers. Well, the reason they do that, it doesn't matter if it's not ethical or not. They're researchers. That's their fucking job. The way they look at it is they have to do it. Understand that, folks.
Welcome to the dark side of science.
I'll say that instead of conducting these researches, we should just open our eyes with our hearts and see this stuff naturally. I've grown up, you guys have heard me many times, you ain't my daddy, flipping him a finger and being able to discern the world for myself because I know right from wrong. It's that simple.
Stanley Milgram was an American social psychologist born on the 15th of August 1933 in the Bronx, New York. His parents were Jewish and had fled Romania and Hungary during the First World War. His background and family ties to Europe would have an important effect on his later studies into social psychology. As word came back to the Milgram family during the late 30s and 40s of the atrocities inflicted by the Nazi regime. Although in relative safety in the USA, many of Stanley's family members were directly affected by the Holocaust. After the war, some surviving members of the family came to stay whilst finding a new life in the US. A young Stanley was exposed to the horrors experienced by his relatives, and this would stay with him, igniting an interest into the darker side of human nature. In 1954, Milgram received his bachelor's degree in political science from Queens College in New York. Initial applications to Harvard for a psychology master's were rejected, but was eventually admitted. The initial setbacks were due to Milgram not taking any undergraduate courses in psychology at Queens College. In 1961, Milgram received a PhD in social psychology. He became an assistant professor at Yale around the same time. Later on, he served as an assistant professor in the Department of Social Relations at Harvard from 1963 to 1966. And this brings us very quickly onto his obedience study, more commonly known as the Milgram experiment. Stanley's experience of relatives going through the Holocaust, coupled with the arrest and trial of Adolf Eichmann in 1961, sparked an interest into finding out what could make seemingly average people take part in atrocities. Eichmann organized the logistics of the deportation of Jews during the Holocaust. He made deportation plans down to the last detail. Working with other German agencies, he also determined how the property of deported Jews would be seized. What was interesting about the trial was that he claimed he had not dictated policy, but only carried it out, and that he was merely a cog in the machinery of destruction. Essentially, the "I was only following orders" defense.
I'm just doing my
This
job.
highlights the question.
Wait a second.
that
Hold
he was
on. Pause
following an
that for a
order
sec.
and
Pause that, Keith.
Have we not heard that for every trial of every police officer since the 1960s?
Yeah, I'm just doing my job. That's what I'm pointing out. I'm just doing my job.
Literally the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
Hitler's willing executioners did the exact same thing. Mass scale genocide. I was just doing my job.
that's right. And what the fuck do they? Excuse me. What the fuck do they mean? Because one of the main compelling things that they say when they encounter us is stop resisting. So what would be the resistance? Because that is what compels them to pull the trigger. When they say stop resisting, and
it's a simple question of the authority that they claim to have, in my experience, because the last time I had an interaction with the quote unquote law enforcement, I was merely asking questions, and then he arrested me. He didn't know my name, and he was trying to get my name. I just had questions for him. That's it.
and do you know what when you said he was trying to get you to answer questions, do you know what that means?
He was trying to trick me out of position. He was trying to get me to say something that would incriminate me in some manner or another and trick me out of jurisdiction.
He was trying to get you to admit to be the name. Now, one of the tricks of the trade that I learned, I was about 16, I swear to goodness. And somebody told me, because their jurisdiction, like they supposed to be out for public safety. But anytime they turn on the emergency lights, it has to be an emergency, or they are the ones who are at fault. But you would have to know that, right?
Yep, that's a 15-year felony.
I told this motherfucker. I asked him, "This is what I do, and this is what I have done, and I'm still breathing, talking to you right now to confess this." He came up to my window, and I rolled down my window competently, made sure it wasn't gonna be none of that roll your window down and all that old goofy shit. And before he said anything to me, I said, "Hey man, who you looking for?" Shit, I pulled over because I saw your license shit. I was trying to get out the way and shit because did somebody get hurt? But the question was, who you looking for? Before he asked you for that motherfucking ID, first of all, you would have to be a subject for the stop, right? So if you before you said anything, you asked him who you looking for. He don't have your ID, so he can't identify it's you, right?
Right. And even if he did do the whole run the plates or anything like that, there's no telling whether I'm that individual or not.
Yes.
So he's got to be pretty fucking specific. And if not here in the state of Minnesota, if he pops those lights on, it's a violation of 169.17, which indicates how they're to drive and travel.
God damn it.
Drive during the so you hit them with their own code on that side. That's an interesting
And when they're looking for the name and birth date,
come on,
they are looking for the estate.
Come on.
They are not looking for you.
Who raiding the estate?
So
Who's trying to raid the estate? Now, Keith. Now I need you when you bring me into that motherfucking corporate jurisdiction and you force me to appear. Appearance is motherfucking communication. So when I send you this motherfucking letter rogatory and tell your bitch ass you just pulled a false claim on me You filed a motherfucking claim and a bond, and under that legal name, which is the estate of my motherfucking family and kinship and heirs. Now you have just tried to adjudicate and do a probative action in amity under the sea, which you have dragged me out to the sea. You got me in the middle of the ocean, and now I have to come back landed because I have a landed estate. See, now the landed estate is my body. Now you can either do one or two things. You can either kidnap me and force me into a foreign jurisdiction without any probable cause, without any legal context, or you can commit treason for bringing claim against one of the children of Israel.
Right, exactly. And that's what we're talking about here again. The video earlier was usufruct. They're trying to use your estate. And that's, again, when they're looking for a name and a number, they're looking for a record. Then the individual's name and number identify the record. So when they're looking for the individual, Keith Little, and his birth date, August 20th, 1966, they're looking for the birth estate.
That's right. And that's a minor account because that and then they want to place a surety to assure, because see, we were not born.
What's your social security number?
Right. We were not born under surety. We were born with assurance. See?
Yep.
And they know. Look, you could literally, nobody would even have to get killed on the motherfucking side of the road. Okay, I'm gonna give you my motherfucking name. I'm gonna give you the surety account. Nigga, go get the bond, nigga, and let me live.
Yep. Nigga, and remember, when that bond matures, I'm the principal. Pay me, bitches.
That's right, god damn it.
You want to use it in usufruct? I'm the principal that's allowing you to use it in your commercial system as a usufructuary. You go ahead and profit off that legal name.
That's
but,
right.
Hey,
and for every bond you place on that name, you shall claim the same.
And why do you think I keep telling everybody everything is already prepaid?
Hell yeah. And look, Keith, check this shit out. So they done kidnapped you. They done brought you in the motherfucking court then they kidnapped you, brought you in the court and handcuffed and shit, right? You on the bond. You see, the right to bear arms is you raising your sleeves up and using that pen. See, everybody got that shit fucked up. The right to bear arms. We have the right to bear arms under the Constitution. Yeah, you have to constitute. That means speak.
You're right to armorial bearings.
Come on now. So this is what I did. So this bitch sat up there with her black dress on, looking like a hoe, and she said, would the defendant please rise? They talking about Jesus. Would the defendants please rise? So you got your fake ass attorney and you got yourself, right? Would the defendant please rise? The state calls so-and-so. So when she get to the point where she say, you stand your dumb ass up like a target, and she say, Mr. Johnson, can you state your name for the record? This is what I did. I said, excuse me. May I ask you a question before we go any further? She can't say nothing but yes. Yes. I said, if I state my name for the record, am I entering a contract with you? She damn near fell off the motherfucking bench. Because
she's asking you to perform labor.
Yes, she's asking me to identify as the account, which is the name.
Yep.
And once you claim the name, now we can play the game.
And under 20 CFR 422.10, 104, you will find the term you and your, or you. And
Come
when you
on.
look at it, it's blue line highlighted. So when you click on that, it takes you to the definition of you, and it says you and your means a person who owes a debt to the
Yes.
United States. Can you
Come on,
state
goddammit.
for the record? Can you state your name for the record?
That's right. And goddammit, hold on. Do you have
Admittance to a debt.
do you have any authority to collect debts on behalf of the United States? That's another question.
Well, yeah. Well, that's going to throw them really off, because see,
Hello?
that's the problem. That's the problem. See, the state is the one that's taking interest. Guess what, though? It's the United States that owes interest on the obligation. And they are also, you remember the Federal Reserve notes, they say legal tender for both public and private debts. They're also obligated to the principal. So they have a dual obligation to the interest and the principal. 50 USC 4305 B2, full acquittance and discharge in the interest of the United States and for the record of the United States. How's that? How's that? You want me to state your name for the record? Okay, I'll state the name of the debtor for the record in the interest of the United States and for the account of the United States. How's that record gonna work?
There you go, goddammit. And you know what? And then so when they give you that, they always come with that 93 days or 90 days, right? So they give you that misdemeanor, and they give you that motherfucking charge. They kidnap you, they put you in that motherfucking cell, you know what I'm saying, which is your cellular income. They put you in that cell. You got to sit in there and to the maturity date of that bond. See what I'm saying? It takes 90 days. It takes 93 days. It takes 90 days for a bond to mature, but it takes 93 days under the banking law, under the truth in lending. It takes 93 days for them to get the surety bond. That's when you are released. Not let go. Not let go. You're released. That means go out there and do that. Go out there and do that dumb shit again, so we can put another bond on your dumb ass.
And that's why I didn't sign the release paperwork when I walked out of jail.
And when you said that, now you say that intrinsically, and you say it all the time. But them motherfuckers would try to kidnap your ass. They will let you. They will.
And they were trying to release.
Look. Because if you don't, but look, if you don't have, if you don't have another surety, see, because they got to be sure you got somebody to pick you up when you getting out, right? When they releasing you, they want to make sure that you got another surety out there in the parking lot, because they're not sure if you're going to make it home safe, right? So you better make sure your wife is coming to motherfucking pick you up. Who the fuck is coming to transport you back?
I walk with the Lord, baby.
God damn it. I'm walking right over there to that motherfucking church, bitch. I got the bishop waiting on me.
Memorial bearings and your personal services, that's what you're doing. You're releasing your personal services to do the paperwork, which means you're releasing your signature again.
That's right. So therefore, you because now I can be sure that your ass gonna come back.
Yep. Greetings, Brielle. What's going on, sister?
Hey, I just I'm coming up trying to say this is me, and anybody else trying to say that it's me, you know, it's difficult. I don't know really what to do. I don't know how to handle this situation.
Are they hurting you in any way?
Because we all know you.
Is it different?
Are they really hurting you in any way?
No, they're not.
Hey, I want to point out something, folks. This is etymology. I don't care what kind of account you've got. Every comment, whether it be written or spoken, is in fact an invention, fabrication, or fiction. Because if no action is taken on it, then it hasn't done anything but been a thought. It's not until something actionable becomes of it that it becomes real, that then you have cause.
Actuality.
So as long as we realize that the comments that come across here are all they are, and we don't have any fear ourselves, it dismisses any kind of intent. This is the righteousness of the servants of the Lord, and the wicked shall flee where none follow.
Yep, you have to subscribe to that shit.
Yep.
Get it?
Got it.
Absolute.
Good.
All right, let's
Then
get
if
back to the
somebody's
experiment.
talking some dumb shit, we all know your comments and how you are well enough to just anybody that's worth two shits will discern your comments from the other comments.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
folks, back to the dark side.
Enough to convince someone to do something so heinous. Milgram would later say in 1974, when explaining the experiment, could it be that Eichmann and his million accomplices in the Holocaust were just following orders? Could we call them all accomplices? The experiment was pretty simple and would make use of three people: the experimenter, who was in charge of the session, the teacher, a volunteer for a single session, and a learner. Both the teacher and learner would arrive for the session together, and they would draw straws as to who would take each role. Participants were sourced via a newspaper ad saying, "We will pay you for 1 hour of your time in a study of memory." The teacher and learner, after finding out their roles, were taken into a room where the learner was strapped into what appeared to be an electric chair, and electrode paste was applied to the learner's wrist to prevent blistering and burns. The teacher would hear this being explained and see this happen. The experimenter, who was dressed in a lab coat in order to appear to have more authority, told the participants that restraints was to ensure that the learner would not escape. The teacher was allowed to experience a sample electric shock similar to what the learner would feel. Before beginning the experiment, the volunteers were informed that they would be paid regardless of the outcome, thus removing any financial incentive to any results. The teacher was led into another room where they could not see the learner but could hear them, and the experiment would begin. The teacher was then given a list of word pairs that he was to teach the learner. The teacher would then read the first word of each pair and read 4 possible answers. The learner would press a button to show his answer. If incorrect, the teacher was meant to administer a shock to the learner. If correct, the teacher would read the next pair of words. Each subsequent incorrect answer would mean the teacher had to increase the voltage in 15-volt increments. They were also instructed to announce the voltage before shocking the learner. Pretty cruel, you might think, but there was only one actual volunteer in each test, the teacher, who, unbeknownst to them, was the real test subject. You see, the learner was actually a stooge and wasn't receiving an electrical shock, and the chance drawing of straws to find out who would do either role was actually fixed, meaning the teacher would always be the teacher. Also, probably not surprising, the experimenter was also in on it. This meant that the whole experience of the teacher was controlled from the authority of the experimenter to the reaction of the learner. To ramp things up in later versions of the study, the learner would also shout out in pain when the voltage got too high. The experiment would have a preliminary and a regular run. The first was a practice of sorts, where the learner would get 3 correct answers and 7 incorrect ones, which would yield a shock up to 105 volts. The second, or regular run, the teacher would be told to read off a list of words and had to continue repeating it until the learner had gotten all of the pairs correct. The volt dial ranged from 15 to 450 volts, and to add further explanation for the teacher was labelled slight shock to danger severe shock. Above 300 volts, the learner would kick on.
Yeah, that's some flow bus shit right there, man.
I want to take a break real quick here because as an irrigation tech, I want to give you a couple experiences working on irrigation as a time clock run off of some batteries. You get 27 volts. The man can handle that fairly fucking well. That's easy to handle. Working on a 110 volt golf course setup where I'm digging a hole and the bottom gets rained in, and nobody tells me that there's a power line underneath the pipe that I'm cutting through. so that when I'm cutting through it and I'm standing in a fucking foot of water, I'm going to get zapped. You know, there's a major difference. That's only 110 volts, folks.
I got shocked by a 210 volt while working for Comcast.
They're talking about 450. Greetings, Broken Wing. How you doing today, brother?
I'm good. Glad to be here. Get to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you. All glory goes to him. It's a communion of people that think alike and are hopefully on the same path.
Amen to that.
Technology.
Welcome, my brother.
So let's get back to it.
On the wall and then no longer give answers to the teacher's multiple choice questions. If the teacher showed any hesitation, the experimenter was able to give one of 4 prodding responses in sequence. The first was please continue or please go on, followed by the experiment requires that you to continue, and then it is absolutely essential that you continue, and finally you have no other choice, you must go on. The experimenter could only progress to the next prod if the teacher refused. If all 4 responses were reached, then the experiment would end. If not, it would continue all the way up to 450 volts. If the teacher asked any specific questions, the experimenter could reply. For example, will the shock leave any permanent damage? The experimenter could then reply with, although shocks can be extremely painful, they cause no permanent damage. After the experiment, an interview would be undertaken, and the question, how painful do you think the last few shocks you administered were? The teachers were instructed to indicate their answer on a scale between 1 to 14, after which the teacher was reintroduced to the learner and the experiment was fully explained. The experiments began in July 1961 at Yale University, and 40 subjects would volunteer through this newspaper advert. And the results would surprise all predictions. The 40 men were from a cross-section in society from various different age and career groups, ranging from 20 to 50. During the experiment, most test subjects showed signs of severe distress when administering the electric shock. They were observed sweating, trembling, stuttering, biting their lips, groaning, and digging their fingernails into their own skin. The discomfort seen shown that the subjects were aware of the pain the learner was experiencing. Pre-experiment, it was expected that only a small amount of the subjects would administer the high voltage shock, between 1 and 3%, but this prediction would be way off. Of the 40 subjects, all reached 300 volts, at which the learner would bang on the wall and stop giving answers. Only 5 refused to go beyond this point. 4 more went on to shock the learner one more time and then also refuse. 2 stopped at the 330 volt level, and 1 each at 345, 360, and 375 volts respectively. Meaning that only...
Now remember, folks, I'm talking back here in regards to that 110 volts that I suffered. And I'm telling you what, that was a motherfucker. They're talking 3 times that much. Holy Christ. That's fucking ridiculous.
Hey, I gotta run. I'll catch you guys later.
Peace.
All right. Peace out, brother.
Only 14 refused the experimenter's prods. This meant that 26 proceeded all the way to the end, giving the highest available shock to the learner. Although most showed signs of discomfort and stress, they still obeyed the perceived authority of a guy in a white lab coat. The results were understandably unexpected, as from a young age we are taught to not hurt others. But with the addition of an authority figure, the teacher would abandon this fundamental part of their moral fabric. Scarily, there was no punishment for disobeying the experimenter, nor was there any reward for completing the experiment, as payment was assured from the start. Even more strange was the results were similar when a control study was undertaken with 43 unpaid students. In Milgram's paper into the study, he highlighted several particular conditions of the experiment that might have contributed to the high level of about 65% of compliance to the highest voltage level. The fact that the study was being undertaken.
So again, we have 65% compliance. The other one is just as simple test to see if you would speak the truth in relates to as it related to those measurements. This here has to do with physical activity and actually harming another being, and they're willing to do that too at the same rate. Amazing shit.
At and sponsored by Yale, possibly reassured subjects that the experiment was above board and reputable. The perceived randomness of the selection of learner and teacher also could have factored in, as a teacher may have thought that he could have been in the other chair, hence he was exposed to the same risks. The subject may have also have thought that as he had volunteered, that he was obligated to help the experimenter, and to the same extent that the learner had also submitted to the authority of the experiment. The subjects were also reassured that although painful, the shocks were not deadly, and that compliance was built through to shock level
My brother
20
Keith.
when the learner...
My brother Keith.
Yes, brother.
Yeah, man. It's too late to listen to that nigga, man. I'm about to fall asleep.
Right now.
I'd rather hear the dialect and the expression from the people, as opposed to that is compelling and it has an interest. But I think that I know that the platform may have been changed from your immediate concern, but I think we have a real good communication flowing if we could just talk about the issues that the immediate result of all of this is that we're trying to transform ourselves from that inclination to a different variation of where we should be.
Right, and a lot of that's a lot of that comes from the education and the ability to know that we can do better. And this is what
Absolutely.
the thing here is pointing out is, like I said, at 110 volts, that shit can kill you, folks. At 110 volts, these people are going up to 450 volts. So the reality of it isn't that they're willing to do that stuff. It's the reality that they're stupid. They're willful ignorance. They're willful ignorance. Let's put it that way. They're willful ignorant to the facts and are believing somebody else without having that actual observation themselves.
That's right.
Whereas when you have that knowledge, even without having the observation, you know that 110 volts can kill you. Why would you even think about going above 50? Why would you subject somebody else to it without knowing physically what 27 volts feels like or 32? Why not observe that physically through a different sense rather than just the psychological sense?
That's right. And let me allow me to give you a little vibration on this, because so when we speak of the law, which this is what it's all bound by, what we're talking about is the law, the law of nature and all that, right? But when two or more come against thee, is that not enough electric magnetic energy with voltage coming from those two indivisible people who are bringing a charge against you? Could that not kill you as well?
Absolutely, and that's it. That's actually what that commercial system is doing. Every time they charge you, they're creating a new person. Once it is done and over with, that person is killed. It no longer exists. That's all it is. That's what death is.
So
death is the person.
So every day there's an attempt on your life every day, because when you wake up, it's more than two motherfuckers that hate you. And if they put their powers together to eliminate you, that can be your causation.
Yep.
if you allow them to enter your cipher.
And that's why I say I've become used to picking up on somebody's spiritual nature as much as possible through every kind of communication I can think of.
That's
So
right.
when I get involved with communications, I
Just like
that spiritual nature, I'm gonna get involved.
that's
If
right.
I don't, I'm gonna push you away.
That's right. Just like, man, I mean, you can really like break this shit down. Just like many of us have pets and shit, right? Your dog is a sensory mechanism, right? They react on impulse and vibration. So if a dog think you're gonna harm him, if it's 2 or 3 people in the room and a dog feels compelled or in a space where he feel like somebody gonna harm him, what does he do?
You're gonna bite. Yeah, we all know
God
this.
damn it.
This is the inherent fallacy that people don't understand. Like I said before, if ye are gods, ye are also beasts.
Come on.
He created all there is, the good and the bad. If you're good, then you are bad. It's
So
an
it
equality.
so it depends on who you surround yourself.
Civilization.
So it depends on who you surround yourself with, right?
Feeding which wolf?
Come on now.
See, and that's another thing when we think about that concept of which wolf are you going to feed. You've got two, and they work in unison. Feed them both equally. You know, in the 12-step program, you tried telling me that my anger was a character defect. No, it's not.
Just like
I have to be able to use my anger appropriately. That means I have to balance it.
that's
It's
the
just
same,
out of balance. I'm supposed to have anger.
and that's the same.
That's a trait of God, right? That's an image and likeness of God, right?
That's
Didn't
right.
God show his anger?
That's right. That's like when a man and a woman come together, and when we don't get along, we may tether together when it comes to a sexual experience, but we don't mint when it comes to our chronological expression, right? So therefore you wind up sleeping with the enemy, because that she or you becomes the wolf in sheep clothing, because there's something else that's clothing your mind from seeing a true future with me. How can you look toward the future with me if you can't see the future? Or you just looking at my futures, which means my potentiality. So you basing your on my potentiality?
Yeah, that's that interest. That's the only reason they have an interest in it, is because they want to make a profit off of that title.
That
They
part.
want you to believe in usufruct, which is a imperfect title that needs to be merged with the equitable title and collapse that false trust. Then the remainders can be removed or reverted back to the original principle in a merger of a resurrection into a new name. All scriptural.
That's right. And when like I can say to the flock, when I speak to my people, I tell young ladies, I said, you don't have no name. I said, everything you do is in the Father's name. And they think I'm talking about Jesus or Jesus or the Bible. Yes, I am, because you have a covenant with the Father. Who is the Father? The one who brought you forward. Well, who brought me forward? The one who planted the seed. Well, who planted the seed? Your Father, who art in heaven. He put his seed in that hollow ground, which was your mother. She was the planetary existence of your fold that sprung forth the fruit that bears the reclamation of his name.
Yep, and that's that fructus. Use of fructus.
God
The
damn it.
fructus is the fruits.
So
That's your true armorial bearing, because your
right.
mother was the one that carried you.
So your lady say, "Fuck you! I'm leaving you. I'm going back to my father's name." She can't go get her father's name back. You're wrong. You are the holder in due course of my name. Now, if you try to return to the name of the Father, you are constricted of doing that. Therefore, you become a Pharisee, a woman of unknown parentage.
Correct. And that's why the inheritance is in your mother. So you keep track of the mother's parentage, because there is but one Father which art in heaven.
Come on now.
That's the legacy. That's the story you're supposed to tell. The inheritance, again, is through the instructions that he gives to prosper and multiply in abundance.
And how is one remembered, Keith? How is one remembered? And because you live only in remembrance, right? How is
The
one?
works.
How? Huh?
The works.
Come on now.
Actions speak louder than words. This is what proves your record in earth is your prosperity. You take your father's land. He's got 10 acres. You've got a nice large family like Job did. Several wives, several businesses. You're making a lot of good things going on. So you take upon the same character traits and talents that your father did because he taught you, and your mother because she taught you, and your sisters. And you inherit all that stuff through your own culture. As you expand your family, it grows more. So now, the same situation, you expanded in prosperity and abundance and replenished the earth, and now you've got 20 acres.
Come on now. And you got 20 acres and 20 heirs to give the abundance of the land, which will filtrate into a legacy that is in a continuum that cannot be
Perpetual.
displaced.
Eternal. That is the eternal life. See, you get
Yes.
eternal life through the legacy.
Yes.
And you get to prove that eternal life in the material existence through the inheritance of your mother, the birthright, the armorial bearing.
God damn it.
See, when you're born, everybody's using their armorial bearing to write down a patronymical legal name construct by using the enumeration at birth. You're supposed to herald the coming of a blessed son of God. If you know the story of Jacob and his 12 sons, the names of his 12 sons spells out the demand for a birthright. I've done a couple videos on it. When you look up the names and their Hebrew meanings, realize it's telling you to demand your birthright under God.
That's right.
That's your true legacy. And that's the Jacob's ladder. You finally realize that the one that you're fighting is the God within yourself. And that's the hip. Remember, Jacob had a problem with his hip. Guess what the Heroic Imagination Project is? HIP. You get to realize you're your own fucking hero.
Yes, he is
All you gotta do is imagine it.
Yes, and that's what and that's one of the stolen legacy gifts that was bestowed to our offsprings, that the forgiveness of the Father and the disappearance. See, they made God disappear. They put his son up for sacrifice. But you cannot get to the Father, let he go through the Son. See, and so in order to go through the Son, that means you have to find the light. He that was born unto, and if you were born unto him, then therefore the sacrifice has already been made. It is under tradition. You lean not to the traditions of man, but lean towards the condition the penetration of one's similac. That's why they call that shit Similac. It's a simulation. You
Yep.
are a simulation in fact to the optimum reality that you're trying to realize, because real eyes realize real lies.
Absolutely, brother. Realize the real lies with your real eyes. So, I did put down the links to both of those videos. I did put down a link to the YouTube channel for Heroic Imagination Project, as well as a Wikipedia link, as well as their international organizational link. So check those out. And like I just said, this is in relations to Jacob's Ladder.
That's
You're
right.
supposed to realize the hero you really are in your imagination and be able to project that out there.
Can we
That's
let
what
the brother in the front? Can we
do.
let the brother in the front row speak? Let the brother in the front row speak. He's been sitting there patient. I don't even know your name, my brother, but go
This
ahead.
this is Danielle. Danielle is great. We
Yeah,
love him around here.
Go
What's
ahead.
up, brother?
Run something on us.
Nah, I'm just learning because I'm in a rare opportunity to set the record straight. I was recently arrested for not wearing a mask.
Kidnap.
Yeah. And well,
So
long story short,
so when when you say you were arrested, that means you were killed because
kidnapped.
right. No. Arrest means, like when they say cardiac arrest, that means that you were taken. Your breath was taken away. So you were arrest means you stopped. They stopped you, so therefore they stopped your heart. That's what under arrest. When you're in the hospital, they say cardiac arrest. That means that your cardiovascular system has been manipulated and seized. So therefore, you were kidnapped. You were seized. They don't say you were under seizure. They say you were under arrest. That means they took your breath. That means you don't say shit.
That makes sense because the second time I appeared in front of a judge, she said, so it's on public record, she said that I was not a living man.
God damn it. So therefore, she was doing. You were at a arbitration about probation, probating
Of a trust.
the trust account was being probated, and they were going for a liquidation. See what you
And the beneficiary can't do anything about it unless he steps in as benefactor, settler,
God
here
damn
to settle
it.
the trust, dismissing the trustee for malfeasance and claiming the clearance and closing of all accounts.
That's right. And so that motherfucker, that man, lawyer that comes up there into the motherfucking court to do the proceeding, because he's presiding over the estate, right?
The president over the resident.
Yes, he's trying to act as they call it the heir apparent. He's coming in as heir apparent. So
Which is executor des tort.
Come on, god damn it.
That's your tort entrance through equity. A trust shall not fail for want of trustee. Dismiss the motherfucker for malfeasance and settle the bitch.
So this is the Morpheus and King Keith motherfucking show. So you god damn it.
So
see, and it's all scriptural. Go ahead.
We want to blow this.
Short,
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
I went to the Social Security to get a new card, and they told me I needed a mask. They said they're going to call the police if I don't leave. I said, well, I have an exemption. Well, we're calling the police. I waited. They put me under arrest. Went to the magistrate. They gave me unsecured bond, told me to appear in court. I went to that one, and in a nutshell, I asked the court if this is the correct court's jurisdiction, because it's my understanding that Social Security is federal. This is not, and I want to be in the right court. She said, I have no right to ask that. And I said, well, I have rights and I am the living man. And she said, you're not the living man. And held me in contempt of court, put me in a cell for an hour, came back. She gave me a piece of paper, or she gave it to the bailiff. He gave it to me. I picked it up. I didn't sign it. I picked it up, gave it back to him, and he gave it back to her. I was told not to go back, and I left, and I was free to go.
Yeah,
They gave me.
That's because you go ahead.
Then they gave me, apparently, without telling me, they gave me another court date. And then a month after that, in December, they gave me a warrant for my arrest. And this past Monday, they arrested me for that warrant.
Okay. And do you know what a warrant is?
In legalese, no, not yet.
A warrant is a surety bond for a decedent's estate. That's an account stated, and what it's a warranty, because they wanted you to claim that name and that birth status under the name and jurisdiction of the United States under that birth certificate, which they are able to put a municipal bond upon that estate for adjudication. But they did not go through the proper channels all the way through the Treasury did not certify it. The Department of Labor didn't certify it. Nobody knows about the claim that they're making on the estate other than that that bailiff or that attorney sitting up there in that black robe. She or he is sitting there as the what's the motherfucker that read the obituary? The motherfucking
Coroner.
he's reading the coroner's letter. Now you could go directly to the fucking coroner and put that legal name in and ask him, do you have a certificate of death for this person? He's gonna tell you no. You go get that letter and you bring that letter in, and now that is in fact a letter of existence, because see, you have,
Which says that they can't probate the estate because it's still living.
come on, god damn it, say it.
When you realize you are the estate, it's not the documentation. The name's not the individual's name and number identify the record. That is not the estate. You, the living soul, are the estate, and you have real and personal effects. They are using the personal effects, which is the person in identification, to acquire the real effects, which is your real property. However, there's one piece of real property they can't touch. That's because they're already holding it, but it's held at the local county registrar. The original hospital statement of live birth signed by your mother, not your father.
That's right.
It's the material evidence that your mother gave birth to you, and that is your next of kin, and that is your material inheritance. Yet there is no financial statement of intent to conduct all of the financial affairs that they're doing. It's missing several elements.
That's right, and that's
but
why.
it's real. But it is real property that was meant to go to you,
Right.
so that you
It's
could
real property
the estate as the true beneficiary, the benefactor. This is what they're not allowing because you don't have that property.
Mm-hmm. And that's why they consider young people to be stillborn, because you know how they used to make up them stories and say the mother laid over on the baby and smothered them with her breast, like she laid on him when he was a newborn laying in her bed and she laid over on him. You done heard them stories. Well, she laid over accidentally and smothered the baby. That's what they're doing in the hospital.
They're smothering the baby with the material world, the ma, and obfuscating everything through the patriotic system.
Yes.
See, when a man is discharged of his mother's waters, he's discharged as a man and takes his first breath
And
of
when you
life,
hear, and
becomes
when
a
you hear,
living soul.
and so when you hear motherfucking discharge, that should let you know you born in a military base. The hospital is a military fucking base. We were all and this whole fucking thing is an asylum. We live in a fucking asylum.
That's what Paul says. Welcome to the asylum, and that's what I told you. This is a psychological platform, and whether you want to see it as an asylum or not is up to you, I guess. But it is a place where you can project through your imagination how you can be a hero.
Everybody in this bitch crazy.
And a lot of it is just, you don't have to be this fantastic hero guy that can climb walls or leap a building a single bound or anything like that. The miracles happen much more personally.
Fuck that.
On a much more intimate basis.
Fuck that. I'm Spider-Man. Yeah, that's look. Spider-Man, the only motherfucker. I only seen them get beat up one time and shit. You know what I'm saying? Superman got his ass beat by Batman. Batman got his ass beat by the Ant-Man. The Ant-Man got his ass beat by the Turtle. The Turtle got his ass beat by the motherfucking Rock Man. And shit. Who's a real superhero?
He actually got beat up quite a lot in the actual comics. That's some real shit.
That's what makes him a hero. He's like a weeble wobble. You can knock him down, but he keeps getting right back up.
He came back.
Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down.
Come on now.
So I hope you guys enjoyed our little journey into our own little heroic imagination project tonight. I hope you pulled something from it. And I hope the thing that you pulled from it is that we're all capable of doing better. We are supposed to, that's inherently our duty, to go forth with our talents and come back with an excess of talents, to go forth and prosper in abundance and multiply so we can replenish the earth. So if that's truly what we know to be in our heart, and that's truly what we want to do, because like I said, I don't think anybody truly wants to be Hitler's willing executioners. I think we want to be our savior's soldiers. And so we should look more towards that aspect of things. And that's what this public education system's destroying when they start educating us at 5 years of age in military schools, after we're born in military hospitals. And then we register military fleet vehicles and don't realize it. It's all military. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, and I concur with your full expression, and I appreciate. I didn't mean to invade a Russian invade on.
No, not at all.
You know, but it is. I'm and I'll be back for more sessions, because I have been trying to express the trust, because I've always had trust in you. I've known you, Keith, for the last 7 or 8 years. We started on Facebook. We started with just little different intellectual, copyrights that you and I or somebody else would post, but we would enjoy, the vibration with each other. And I don't know what our sister Malika had in any defiance or anything with me from my commentary, but I was somehow subjugated from that group, and that's why you haven't seen me on that platform in quite some time. But
Yeah, it's too bad to hear, but yeah, I still have faith in both of you. So
Oh yeah, and
one day.
it's not anything compelling against her, because I think when she was doing her group changeover things and adding people and changing her platform and how you get in and this and that, because I'm still connected with the fees that I give and promote to monthly or whatever, but I haven't been able to, articulate or really, come into that realm. But, she owns spot, she owns time, and many of us we're coming with information that we have downloaded and deciphered from many different areas, because just as you and just as myself, you know, I have gained a lot of my uh, contemporary information from your wisdom, your acknowledgement, and your bringing forth. And it takes courage. I mean, I've seen you go through your health issues. We all have our own individual goddamn issues. But but when you publicize them, it becomes a little bit more apparent. But I've seen you. I've seen you come and go, come and grow, and continue to grow. And as I have with her and many others. But you are steadfast in the truth, and I wouldn't give a fuck how it comes across or who it comes from. It's imperative that you know that even to the ones who are less learned, even to the ones who can't comprehend, it must be said. See, it must be written. It must be. Now the acknowledgement is two different things, but it must be said.
Right. Yeah.
I don't care if I have 12 grandseeds. I am so grateful, brother. I've been married for 25 years. I have 12 grandseeds and one on the way if my daughter is not in contempt with the creator, because she's been through, this would be her sixth seed, and she is going through, and I don't know, I posted something on Facebook out of pain the other day, and I asked the question. I got not one response. I asked this one question: how can we get our daughters not to kill their babies?
Yeah, that's a tough topic. I can imagine that.
Nobody in the world said nothing.
Yeah, and they wanna talk about it so much in the political arena, huh? That's the shame. When somebody really wants to know why, they don't
Man,
want to answer. But if you make it a political agenda, then
yeah,
they'll tell you whether they're Democratic or Republican.
look, she could give me the motherfucking baby. She's a life carrier. She has been proven to be able to. You got 6 motherfucking kids now, but you don't. It ain't like she doesn't lack anything. What she lacks is her own competence. Back in the day, it wasn't no motherfucking abortions. Granny or auntie gave that baby to somebody in the family. That baby still survived. It ain't where you. You know what I'm saying? Because I ain't never seen. I wouldn't give a fuck if a woman had 12 got children. I ain't never seen nobody in my life starve. I ain't never seen nobody
Right.
starvation. I don't give a
And
fuck.
one of the things that we got.
I ain't seen nobody die from not getting no titty milk. I ain't seen nobody die from not getting no goddamn box of cereal. As long as you got the breath of life, as long as you got the will and intent to breathe, you can do anything.
Yeah,
About
and the thing is that we're getting away from that natural life. Like I said the other day, we're losing our instincts and our intuition, and in that, when we think about this modern foster care system and the way it used to operate, one of the sad things is that, as a child of 5 brothers and sisters total, there were 5 of us, and we were all split up and put into different foster homes for adoption. Now, the sad thing there is that it still remains the same today. If a family member is willing to take the children, then they may do so without any legalities in the court. It's a private family operation. And yet my dad had 13 brothers and sisters. Why were we not put off into one of those other families?
Yeah.
You know, that's the sadness of today's society, is that people are losing interest in raising other people's children unless it's outside of the family. Families are becoming so dissociative.
Yeah.
That's the very foundation of our existence.
Yeah. And that's why you and I, we contend to talk to each other like you are my brother, you are my sister, because we have attached ourselves to like-minded, like kindness of the heart.
Image and likeness.
Yes. And because family is not who you are born unto, it is who you relate to.
Exactly. And the legacy says we all relate to the same. So
That's-
we're all brothers and sisters.
We are all brothers and sisters in Christ if we adorn him and raise our vibrations to the highest level of that Christ consciousness, which we all will to do. And thy will be done.
Yep, absolutely. You got anything before we close out here, Danielle?
And it was a pleasure to meet this gentleman. And thank you for the advice.
I appreciate you and pleasure to meet you as well.
And Wizard,
And
thank
yes,
you for having me.
and that's a quick reminder, real quick here. What's your do you have a channel here on YouTube, Morpheus? I believe you do.
I do have a channel on YouTube. I haven't used it in quite some time, but it's the people's trust or something like that. Man, I created that shit in 2001 or some shit, but it's the people's trust. The people's trust is my YouTube, but I have not done any visuals or any videos. I got some shit on there that I was doing back when I was fighting foreclosure and got some law shit on there, but I got like 4 or 5 videos. I ain't been on there in a long time.
Well, next time you join us, go ahead and bring your links then. That
Okay.
way you can we'll share your links for everybody. That way we can start connecting.
The people's truth. See if you can pull it up right now. Google that shit right now. The people's truth. See if you can find me on YouTube. And look, it's like a video. Play that shit. This like 2001 or some shit. The people's truth. YouTube, and you're gonna see. I ain't got no avatar or nothing on there because I'm talking to the camera because I'm talking to one of the public officials, and that was one of the first videos. I think it's 5 minutes or something. I let them bitches have it. That's what started my whole thing. But they never took it down. I had like 600 and some views over the years or whatever. But I wasn't trying to, be Channel 7. I was just stating my piece.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I did. It's the same thing here. I started out. I can't find it. If anybody can find it, go ahead and feel free to drop it.
It's called The People's.
But I started doing these videos like 5 years ago on Facebook. Doing Facebook Lives, just going through and doing definitions and reading different points in law and doing showing the people the research as I was doing it and where the sources were, what I was getting it from and how I was interpreting it. I never expected it to turn into 18 channels as my own authors guild.
Yeah.
Here on YouTube.
You know what? And let me say this to you as well. Every time you do your shows and stuff, and you see me in there, and you say, anybody that wants to come up, I know you talking to me. You be like,
I was so glad to see you come up tonight, brother. I really was.
You be wanting to say, Morpheus, get your motherfucking ass up here. God damn it.
No, the world needs to hear you, brother.
Yeah.
Very white voice, guys. Very white voice. The ladies love it.
Hey man, God gave this to me, man, and I could have used it for so many different things, you know. And at one time, I wanted to be Nick motherfucker was talking about you can be a pimp with that motherfucking voice. You can do this.
Well, that's what we're talking about right here, brother. That's what I was talking about. Paul Jr. The profile name I've got here is in relations to Paul that runs another YouTube channel called Proper Instruction
Oh yeah,
Motivates
I
People.
follow. I've been on Paul channel following, bro. I've been with you
Awesome.
the whole way. I've been on Paul
That's what we're
Unslave
talking
with
about
you.
is pimping,
Hell
brother.
yeah, I lost y'all whenever they start fucking with this shit. But
Oh, you were on Unslaved, Paul
yeah,
Unslaved
yeah,
first.
I was
Then.
on Paul
Okay.
Unslave. Yep, I was on Paul Unslave every goddamn morning, every goddamn day. I love that shit. I love that brother because he one of us. But I was gonna create me a motherfucking channel because it, I got a lot of you even said it, you know what I'm saying, in terms of Barry White and this and that, but talking dirty after dark with King Morpheus. That's what the fuck that's what my new channel is. Goddamn.
Yeah. Is that what your profile is on Facebook, King Morpheus?
King Morpheus L. Yeah.
King Morpheus L on Facebook, guys.
Yeah.
Check him out.
Yeah, I've been your friend on there for shit. We damn near 10 years in.
Yeah, I think it's been 8 years now.
Yeah, yeah, and and you know how they when they change and you gotta reload, motherfucker forget their password and then they put you on a different connection. But yeah, man, I've been in connection with you. Like I said, I walked through you with your illness, and every time when you was going in with your remedies and your therapies and all the stuff you was doing, I was like, this motherfucker. You
Well, I'm getting ready to do another video on the cancer stuff too. So
oh yeah, because
too,
and because you know the cancer is what you conceal in your mind and your heart, and it's
they can't. And when it comes to this firsthand experience, they can't try to shut me down for fucking medical misinformation. Fuck you.
Man,
fuck you. This is firsthand witness, firsthand experience, and I will get on that stand and I will testify. And there's not a motherfucking thing you or the WHO can do about it.
You goddamn right. My elder sister, who is 11 months older than me, because I consider myself to be a young man. I'm 54 years young. I'll be 55 in February, so they say, but I'm timeless. And she's sitting in the hospital with all these health manipulations, but still able to speak to me in this vibration. Now, my broken family and the assets of their minds is come and see her before she leaves the planet. Motherfucker, I told her, bitch, I wish you would stop breathing.
Some people don't get that spiritual connection, brother. It's always there. That's the eternal life. That's the immortality, guys. Get along with it. So anyway, guys.
Yep. Peace to the guys, man, and yep, and thank you.
We're gonna scoot. We can talk some more again next time. I think I'm gonna come on again tomorrow, and let's see what I've got lined up. Something to do with the enterprise payment accounts. You can get private and public. There's a new one out.
I got
something like that.
I got a lot of that shit too. But let me drop. I don't give a fuck. 248-747-0241. That's my public communication, and you can reach out to me at any time, brother. And because I have expressed to you through some communication some time ago. If you go back through your emails, man, you're gonna see that I was emailing you, bro, back in fucking 2019 or some shit, trying to get you to when you start talking about the surety bonds and the straw man and all this and that, and then we met on Malika's platform, and then everybody was going against me when I started talking about the trust and the estate and this and that, and now that's all they own. They
Yeah.
talking
You
about
hear him talking about equity now?
yeah, they talking about
Yeah.
everything that I brought forth, but it was like she wanted to make me a liar, and I was like, "What are you, Malika? Come on."
Well, that's why I say, I have faith that everything will work itself out, because we're all, as far as that goes, we're talking about Malika on lawful living, and I think we're all, like I said earlier, on that same pathology. We're all using the same techniques and learning as we go, and we're finding out that we're all actually merging here and there, and that's what it's about.
Right, but I just didn't want anybody to feel like, because I ain't no price on this shit for me. The price,
The value is priceless. This is the
on.
priceless thing. This is your inheritance isn't here. Your treasury is in heaven.
Come on now. I would rather leave this motherfucking plane knowing that I passed the baton than I would if somebody dropped it.
Amen. Amen. So,
yeah, one love, my brother, and do your thing. We'll see you on tomorrow, and look forward to your next platform and your next engagement. But until then, peace to you, peace to your family, and healing and warmth in this season.
absolute. Thank you kindly, and back at you, brother.
One
And
love.
like I said, folks, I also want to continue with doing the movie reviews that I had planned on doing before. So if you want to give me a list of movies that you want to review that might have a specific background story as it relates to exiting Babylon or whatever, the Matrix. The Matrix series is one where the King Morpheus here is quite familiar with, and there's a lot of movies that do that. Pirates of the Caribbean series, there's a lot of keys in them. So just give me a list of movies that you want to maybe start doing some reviews on, so we can get into that again. And like I said, I'll be back with a cancer video here tomorrow or the next day. Go ahead, brother.
I got it. Because I got a fantastic documentary. It's a book that was written, and I'm sure you're familiar with it, because I've heard through some of your connotations, you were hitting on everything that was kind of that they were speaking on in this particular book. But it's called Miracles, the Book of Miracles, and it expresses everything. It takes you down. Now, I've never heard you. We talk about the trust in the estate and things like that a lot, but there's a maritime claim for the true beneficiaries and the true injured parties, that it's a mort, because we're claiming the mortmain accounts that they put on us. And there is a book called Miracles. It breaks down how to properly adjudicate things, because we're dealing with foreclosed entities who are already insolvent and bankrupt, who are claiming the estates of the living beings, you and I. And what this book does, it delivers to you the breakdown of all the terminology, and it speaks to everything that we speak upon and speak about, and it has transcripts in it that, if implemented properly, can be, because this has to be a wave. See, one of the reasons why I have not acted on everything that I know is because it's dangerous. Because see,
Right.
when they are ready to liquidate your asset account, and when they want to remove you from the planet, they have to kill everything that is attached to you. That means
So
any
let me take it from here, brother, because that killing you and everything that remains attached to you Okay, what happened when Jesus walked on water? There's a boat full of people. Now, Jesus walked on water, and you're out in your boat in Admiralty with a bunch of your fellow boys and all your belongings. And you're supposed to have faith in Jesus Christ so that you can walk on water in Admiralty. Now, when the Pirates of the Caribbean, when they want to place a vote, what do? They do a parlay. Now, a parlay is where you place a vote to see who gets to be the chief in command of determining whether you're going to go to war. In that, pirates generally only vote for themselves. So when you learn to put your parlay in Jesus, you too can walk on the waters in Admiralty.
God damn it. Say that shit one more time.
So when you learn to have faith in Jesus, you too can walk on waters in Admiralty, because that's who you put your parlay in. When you're in Admiralty waters, you don't vote in Admiralty waters except through a parlay. If you're on land, you vote through elections.
That's right. And I tell people all the time, you are not qualified to vote. You are going against God's law. You're going against man's law. You're going against all type of laws. Because if you look up 18 USC 911 and 912, you are participating in your own genocide. So that they get there, they try to separate themselves by putting certain transgressions against you to make you kill yourself. I tell people all the time, it's more than one way to commit suicide. You can commit suicide by anything that you overdo in life. Too much of this, too much of anything will kill you, right?
You drink too much water. Water is toxic.
Will drown you, right? So they man, I have, look, like my best, one of my best nature friends that I fucking raised, because I raised all my goddamn friends. All these motherfuckers, they grew up under me with, I was just, that one with that foresight. And I, kind of led them, like all of them with their baby mamas, all of them trying to take care of their children. I have always been in that conformity. You know what I'm saying? I have 3 seeds.
Protectorate, yeah.
Yes. And so by my will alone, it has risen plenty waters out here. And now they are taking their own voyages. And that is the most beautiful thing that in my existence that I could have done.
That's that maiden voyage they talk about. And again, it's a maiden voyage because you're supposed to follow your mother's name. That's the first voyage when you go out from your own family and become a man of the world. Building your mother's inheritance and creating or extending your father's legacy.
That's right. And when I say to people, and I want to get your stipulation on this, but I tell people, a woman doesn't have a name. She carries the name of the father. The children carry the name of the father. There's not one woman that you can name that has her own name. If my wife is Latrice, I'm Mr. Johnson. My wife is only Latrice and not Miss Johnson without my name. I carry the name of my father who art in heaven. What is his name? Hallowed be thy name.
Yep. And this is what people don't realize. Again, it's not the messenger. So why are we worried about the name? It's the message. And that is the principle of love and owing no man anything but to love one another.
That's right. You should not be surety to no man. To owe
he who is sure, he who hateth suretyship is sure.
That is right. And if we want to live in abundance, we must be righteous, because without the righteousness of the Father, our children will surely perish.
Yep. And with that, folks, I want to let you know one last time then, you know I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. So may God bless you. Have a
Shalom.
good night, and we'll see you again next time.
Peace.
Thanks for joining,
Shalom,
guys.
shalom.
Hit that like, share, and subscribe. And remember, there's PayPal links if you want to share some love. Have a great night.
Peace.